Welcome to this explainer. Today, we're making a complete overview of everything you actually need to know to get your medical research prepared, submitted, and published in the TAJ Journal of Teachers Association. Look, if you're a healthcare professional, an academic, or an up-and-coming researcher, you've already know that navigating journal submissions can honestly feel like wandering through a maze blindfolded. Well, we're going to clear all that up right now and give you a structured, step-by-step overview of this specific journal's ecosystem. So let's jump right in.
Right in their own guidelines, the journal describes itself as, quote, one of the fastest communication journals in the field of medical sciences. And honestly, if you've ever waited months or literally years just to see your research in print, you know what a massive draw that is. TAJ is fully committed to rapid online publication the second your paper is accepted. But, and this is crucial, they pull this off without sacrificing an ounce of the rigorous scientific evaluation that validates all your hard work. It's really about getting high-quality research out to the people who need it, fast.
So here is our agenda for this overview. First, we'll meet the TAJ Journal, then cover their focus and medical scope, followed by preparing your manuscript, the peer review process, and finally, making your actual submission.
Section 1. Meet the TAJ Journal, an overview of the platform.
Okay, so what exactly is TAJ? Well, it's an open-access medical journal published quarter-annually, meaning 4 times a year. It's proudly published by the Teachers Association of Rajshahi Medical College, and, importantly, it's a BM&DC-approved publication. Now, that open-access part, that is absolutely vital. It means they provide completely unrestricted access to their content, which really fuels the global spread of medical knowledge. By publishing here, your hard-earned evidence-based practice and innovations aren't trapped behind some expensive paywall. They are right out there, available to literally any clinician or researcher in the world who could benefit from them. Moving to Section 2, Focus and Medical Scope, what TAJ publishes. You might be wondering if your niche fits, but TAJ is a massively multidisciplinary and inclusive platform. Their scope encompasses basically the entire spectrum of medical sciences. We're talking basic sciences, anatomy, physiology, biochemistry. We're looking at vast surgical fields, everything from general and neurosurgery to cutting-edge robotic and minimal access surgery. Plus, it covers internal medicine, pediatrics, public health, nursing, and even dentistry and allied sciences like prosthodontics. So essentially, if you are doing work that advances healthcare, there is a very good chance it falls right into their expansive scope. And the journal isn't just flexible in what subjects it covers, it's highly flexible in format too. So whether you're submitting core original research or comprehensive review articles, there's absolutely a place for it. Have some interesting clinical observations? They welcome case reports and even standalone surgical images. And for broader scientific discourse, they publish editorials, short communications, points of technique, and correspondence. The takeaway here? You definitely don't always need a massive multi-year clinical trial to contribute something incredibly valuable to the medical community through TAJ. Section 3. Preparing your manuscript, author guidelines. Let's talk formatting, starting with the number 15. Your manuscript's title has a strict limit of exactly 15 words max. This is brilliant because it forces you to distill your entire study into its most impactful, highly searchable essence right out of the gate. Similarly, keep the number 250 in mind. Your abstract is capped at a strict maximum of 250 words. Within that really tight constraint, you've got to provide a succinct summary of your study objectives, your methods, your results, and your conclusions. That abstract needs to stand completely on its own. Plus, you need to provide between 6 to 10 keywords that perfectly describe your manuscript to help other researchers actually find your work in databases. When it comes to the body of your text, TAJ requires a very logical, structured flow. You start with your introduction to state your purpose and research question, then move into methodology to detail your study design. After that, your results. And yes, definitely use tables and figures here to make that data pop. Then comes the discussion where you interpret those results. Now, here is a golden rule for your conclusion. You must provide a clear summary, but absolutely never introduce new information or new arguments there. Finally, wrap the whole thing up with recommendations for future practice and your acknowledgments. The structural formatting is just as rigid, so pay attention here. Your document has to use Times New Roman font, size 12, and it must be single-spaced throughout. You'll need standard 1-inch margins on all sides, and for your references, TAJ strictly requires the APA citation style. Double-check that every single reference cited in your text, actually appears in your reference list, and vice versa. Overlooking these really basic formatting rules is just an incredibly easy way to frustrate an editor before they even get to read your amazing science. We also have to talk about ethics, because ethics and transparency are foundational to this journal. You are explicitly required to declare any conflicts of interest that could potentially influence how your findings are interpreted. You also have to disclose all funding sources that supported the study. And most importantly, you've got to provide the exact details of the ethical approval you obtained for your study, including the specific reference number.
Section 4. The peer review process. Inside the evaluation.
So, TAJ employs a strict double-blind peer review process. What does that actually mean? It means both the expert reviewers and you, the submitting authors, remain completely anonymous to one another throughout the entire evaluation. Why does this matter so much? Because it guarantees your manuscript is judged purely on its scientific quality, originality, clarity, and relevance. It totally removes any institutional or personal bias from the equation, which really protects the integrity of the published work. Let's break that down into a step-by-step journey. First, you make your online submission. Second, the editorial team does an initial evaluation, basically a quick check to see if it meets baseline standards and fits the journal. Third, they assign it to qualified reviewers for that double-blind review we were just talking about. Fourth, based on the reviewer's feedback, you might be asked to make some revisions to tighten up the manuscript. And finally, step 5, after those revisions and maybe a re-review, the editorial team makes the ultimate decision on acceptance. It's rigorous for sure, but it's a highly transparent pipeline.
So, with the curtain completely pulled back on exactly how TAJ operates and evaluates its content, the real question you need to ask yourself right now is, are you ready to submit? Let's make absolutely sure that you are.
Section 5. Making your submission final steps. A crucial thing to grasp here is the difference between an immediate desk rejection and a paper that is actually peer review bound. Listen, an editor absolutely will desk reject your submission on day one if it doesn't meet minimum quality standards. If you've got an unstructured design, poorly articulated research arguments, or an abstract that literally makes no sense on its own, it's never going to reach the reviewers. To make sure your paper is peer review bound, you need a properly structured argument, that concise title under 15 words, and an abstract that independently summarizes your whole study. Doing this massively increases the likelihood that reviewers will gladly accept the task of evaluating your work. Once you feel your paper hits that high standard, run through this final checklist. First, ensure you've obtained explicit permission to publish any included material, like photos, datasets, or documents. Second, make sure all your co-authors have actually consented to be identified as such. And hey, remember to include their ORCID IDs if they have them. Third, confirm your research was approved by the appropriate ethics committee following the legal requirements of your study's country. And lastly, please, thoroughly proofread the manuscript for grammar, spelling, and typos. By taking the time to navigate this rigorous process properly, you aren't just getting another publication under your belt. You are adding immense, tangible value to the global dissemination of vital medical knowledge. Because TAJ is fully open access, your well-prepared research could genuinely become the next collaborative advancement in global healthcare, accessible to clinicians everywhere. Which leaves us with one final thought to ponder today. As you look at your own clinical observations, your lab data, or those emerging findings on your desk, what groundbreaking medical discovery will you share with the world through the TAJ Journal? Take these guidelines, structure your insights, and get ready to make a real impact. Thanks for joining this explainer, and happy